Okay, guys, hi, my name is Radhe Baid. I'm back on Unacademy, and this is the third video in the RBI Grade B Officers Exam series. Alright, so today I'm going to analyze the 2016's Economic and Social Issue paper. It's a very important exercise because this will help you understand how to read the books and the material that you have. Alright, a few pointers before I start. I have my laptop next to me. First of all, these papers are not available in original. Okay, the exams are conducted online, so there are no papers available. This discussion of questions that I'll be doing now is completely based on collective memory. All right. So here are a few requests. First, I have while discussing the questions, my only intention is to give you a crux of the pattern and the trend of questions asked. Okay, pardon me, please forgive me if there are errors in data facts. Don't go on that, instead dwell on the reason why am I doing this video, to make you guys understand how to use the material, the books, the newspapers that you would be reading wisely. Okay, uh, also making sure that this is the third video that I've made in the series. Before posting your questions on the comment sections, please go through the first two videos as well. A lot of questions would automatically be answered. Okay, uh, let me give you the format of the exam. The format of the exam is going to be 65 questions in total, 35 questions of 2 marks each, and 30 questions of 1 mark each. Okay, the two markers are mostly based on passages, that is comprehension type questions. Okay, however, you do not find the answers in the passage given. The passage is just a passing reference to the questions asked. The questions are actually asked, answered by our own logic and by the own knowledge that we have. It has nothing to actually do with the passage. If you see, you'll not find the data or the answer that they are asking in the passage. Moving on, I'll quickly start giving you a glimpse of the type of questions asked. Okay, this is the most important exercise in terms of your whole preparation cycle for the RBI Grade B officers exam. Starting the first question, I'm mixing up the 1 markers and 2 markers. I will give you a hint. I'm trying to make you understand the topics. Okay, topics asked. Now, when I mention the question, you have to ask yourself two questions. When was this event happening in terms of the last year? I'll give you a reference of that as well. And also, what is the source where I can get this information from? When you ask yourself these two questions, you will be able to understand what are the right material, what is the right material to refer to crack this exam. Starting with Brexit. Now, there were three questions on Brexit. So the first question said we have to give in terms of exact percentage, that is 51.89% voted for the motion of Brexit and 48.11 voted against it, right? So this is the trivial nature of data that is being asked. So the exact percentage of how many people voted for and against Brexit. Second question, which two particular countries or places out of the complete United Kingdom had voted uh, against Brexit? Northern Ireland and Scotland. Okay, so they decided to stay with them. All right, so this was another question. Third question said, by how many points did the Sensex crash after the verdict of Brexit came out? Answer was 1090.80 points. By these many points, the Sensex had tumbled that particular day. I'm again trying to give you a crux of the kind of questions asked, the data, the kind of data that has been asked. Okay, moving on, there was a question on wealth inheritance, mitakshara. Okay, mitakshara, a kind of law, let's say in the past, which deals with inheritance of wealth in terms of a guy or a girl, a daughter or a son. Okay, so there was a question on this. There was actually a passage given on wealth inheritance, and then Maharashtra and West Bengal were mentioned, and a few other options were mentioned in terms of the name of the places where this law is enforced, where it is not. Okay, also just going back to the Brexit point, I wanted to tell you the source to answer the Brexit question would be the newspaper, but obvious, and also it was in news around July, August, and the exam that happened, it happened in September. Okay, so with most of the questions, I'll try to give you a passing reference of the date as well. All right, moving on. There was a question which said, which country topped the human capital index? The answer was Finland. Answers also, official answers are also not out. Forget about the questions as well. So I'm just trying to again give you an idea. Okay, please understand why am I doing this video, to give you a crux of the type of questions asked. Second, moving on, there was another question from the Reserve Bank of India website that was on NDSOM, okay, which is a negotiated dealing system order matching segment. So this was a screen-based electronic order matching system for secondary market trading in government securities. Okay, this was a new platform that RBI had come up with. There was a notification regarding the same on the RBI website. Now it is listed under the FAQ section on the RBI website. If you want, you can go check. It's called NDSOM. I'm trying to explain you the importance of reading and referring to the RBI website. There were also two more questions related to this NDSOM in terms of a limit that is specified and a few other things. The exam was in September. It's been a long time that we wrote the exam. This is completely a memory based recollection of the questions. Okay. Pardon me, forgive me for anything that goes wrong. Also, there was another question on the foreign trade policy 2015 to 2020. Okay, uh, the detail of the questions asked were in terms of the merchandise export from India scheme MEIS and services export from India scheme SEIS. They were coming under the foreign trade policy. It was very well explained in any of the economic survey highlight document if you would have picked it up from any of the websites. Okay, so it said the tariffs 3% and 5% was one answer. They had asked the category of countries that have been specified in the government order, the rates 3%, 5%, and also there was the target of $900 billion in terms of that is the target export target that the government is looking to achieve. Okay, so that was another part. So three questions on this foreign trade policy. The source would have been economic survey for sure. From any of the websites, it was very much in news, easily answerable. So for now, we have RBI website, economic survey, newspaper, and wealth inheritance. Moving on, there was a question, a passage on the Kudanakulam plant in Tamil Nadu. So there was a protest going on in terms of that plant being settled in Tamil Nadu. The movement's name was People's Movement. Also, there was another question asked that this Kudankulam plant is being laid in India with the support of which other country, which was Russia. So the passages which were given, they actually were a passive reference to the question. You have to know the answers. The way you answer other simple questions is exactly the same. Uh, all we aspirants, all we people who wrote the exam were also questioning the fact that why were the passages given if if the answers are not in the passage. Okay. So, and this Kudankulam plant, it was a very basic generalized question. You could have got the answer to this question in a newspaper or any current affairs magazine that you might follow. Simple enough. Then we had the National NIIF. So, 40,000 crores was actually the proposed corpus of this fund. Okay. But only a part of it was sanctioned in the last budget, which was around 4,000 crores. So the question was, what was the part which was sanctioned in the budget in the National Investment and Infrastructure Fund? Okay. Moving on, there was a question on the Ujjwala scheme, which the government has come up with for the LPG connections. Uh, the amount allocated for the Ujjwala scheme in uh, the budget, in the last budget. You could have got this answer from Bankers Adda, Capsule, or the monthly current affairs that they come up with. Okay. Then we have there was a passage on growth and income inequality. Okay, that was a completely logical passage with no general knowledge needed. All right. So if you check, there were, as far as I can recall, there were four or five questions from that passage, which you could have answered just by reading the passages and by common sense. There was no knowledge needed there. Uh, Poverty indicators, why are cities the vibrant centers of growth, questions like this. Okay, if I'm not able to explain or convey myself well, please try to understand the underlying logic of doing this session. Just focus on uh, what I'm trying to tell you guys, and strategize accordingly. Okay, the ranking of India in the ease of business doing index that was asked. You could have done it from any newspaper or bankers data. Employment generation schemes, Pradhan Mantri Rozgar Yojana. So there were questions on these two schemes. So government schemes are majorly focused. Economic survey, we've already seen questions. Then from the bankers data document, we have seen questions. Then there was a question which said, which of the following personalities was not a part of the World Economic Forum co-chair? Okay? Kaushik Basu was the answer of that question. He was not a part of the World Economic Forum co-chair. It was a difficult question, I felt. Then another question said, it was a one marker which said, where was the BRICS policy planning dialogue held last year? Answer was Patna. Okay, you could have read it in any newspaper. Then moving on, give me a second. Another very trivial question asked, number of statutory towns and cities in which are enrolled under the Swachh Bharat mission. The answer was actually 4041 statutory towns. It had something to do with the census which was conducted. Okay, so this was actually mentioned in the Bankers Adda capsule as far as I remember. Then we had a question on the e-commerce committee which was headed by Mr. Amitabh Kant. So we had to remember his name. Then the growth projection 7.6%, which was given by IMF last year. Then we have the Brundtland Report and the Earth Charter. There was a question on the Brundtland Report and the Earth Charter. So the question said, where or when was the term sustainable development coined? Okay, and it started all from the Brundtland Report and the Brundtland Commission. Then we had questions on Deep and Tarang. These are again government schemes on the power generation and transmission sector. So Tarang was one answer, and they gave the name of the scheme Tarang, and they had asked us to find out that it is related to which sector of the economy. It was power transmission, as far as I can recall. They also did ask a simple question: there are how many members in the estimates committee of the parliament? Then the definition of disinflation, simple enough. In which state is the place Tawang located? Arunachal Pradesh. Simple enough. Difference between fiscal policy and monetary policy. So it said, the question somehow said fiscal policy does not include which of the following, and there were a few options: CRR, SLR, etc. So a question like this. So as far as I can recall, out of 65, 8 questions were conceptual, rest were on current affairs or common sense. Uh, and also the International Solar Mission, which was started. So the foundation, there was a question, which was the other country which had partnered with India for the International Solar Mission. The TFAs, the Trade Facilitation Agreements, are related or associated with which organization? So World Trade Organization was the answer. Another very trivial data-based question, one marker, it said, what is the per capita income of Indians? The very precise, accurate answer was 93,293. This was the answer. Again, we had to actually recognize the options were very close to 90,000 and 80,000, in between all of these. Then we had the Shankaracharya committee being asked. So there was a committee formed to analyze the feasibility of a new financial year. The answer was the Shankaracharya committee. Then a lot of questions on employee pension scheme and also the minimum wages, which were actually revised last year for the PF wage ceiling revision, actually the Provident Fund wage ceiling revision. There was a question on this. Then employee pension scheme, some passage was given as far as I can recall, and also there was a increase in the penalty for people who do not abide by that scheme or do not follow the rules. So the amount of the penalty was asked. Then they did ask us that there are how many countries in IMF. So 189 countries. It was in news around August or July. Republic of Nauru had joined the IMF then. It was the 189th member of IMF. So this was one question. There was a scheme called Himayat for the. It was a training cum employment program for the youth of Kashmir. What was the amount allocated for that program? 1601 crore was the answer. Then we had a question on the Chinese currency renminbi, since it had become a new reserve currency. So there was a question on that. Simple enough, you can get it in the newspaper. Then there was a question on the Monetary Policy Committee, which anybody who's preparing for RBI would obviously be reading about it. It said who's the chairperson, there are how many members in that committee, and also some question on the time lag about when RBI has to make sure that they do not exceed the target which is set in agreement with the government and the MPC members. When was the first 5-year plan implemented in India? This was one question. Then we had a question on One Bandhu Kalyan Yojana, which deals with the skill development for tribal youth. Skill development for tribal youth. There was a complete passage given. There were 3 or 4 questions. One answer was One Bandhu Kalyan Yojana. Then it said there is an organization that deals with the fact of making sure that there are funds available for entrepreneurship among the tribal youth. So the name of that particular organization was asked. I believe it was Tribal Finance and Development Corporation. Then there was a question on Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, housing for all. Okay. Then the target of the fiscal deficit that was set last year, just 3.5% was the answer. Okay. So I basically quickly I wanted to keep this session very short and crisp. I have listed out more or less a lot of questions, and in the comments and in a lot of places we've been asked that please arrange the previous year questions. So this was one attempt where I tried to quickly give you a glimpse of how the questions are asked, what questions are asked. It's a very scoring paper, ESI, provided you follow the right strategy and understand the demand of the exam. This is what my whole intention was to do today, to list the questions so that you can again and again uh, listen to the questions, understand the question, understand the time frame of whatever event I've mentioned. If you relate, when was it happening? June, July, August, exam was in September. Okay, so 3 or 4 months prior to the exam becomes very, very critical. Also, it helps you narrow down your current affairs preparation, because that will save you time when you have to read just 3 or 4 months before the exam. So you can read through the Bankers Adda capsule, GK Today monthly PDFs, but all of this, they are very thick booklets, Vision IS, etc. They're very thick booklets. You do not have to read all of that. Very, very selective. So first, what I've told you today, listen to it and try to analyze what you will need to read from Bankers Adda, GK Today, and Vision IS. These are very big booklets. You do not have to read everything. Okay, make sure that you do very targeted, smart study. Hard work will not work. Smart work will work. And you guys who have been preparing for these exams for a long time, I'll tell you something. People who clear the exam overnight, they cannot change, because the day result was declared, a night before they were exactly aspirants just like you, and the next day when the results were declared they become toppers. It does not work like that. I very strongly believe that people who have been preparing for like almost 1 or 2 years, they're very strong senior people who have a lot of knowledge, and a mere roll number appearing in the final sheet, yes, it does change our life, whoever has made it, but in terms of knowledge and intellect, please understand, it makes no difference. We all are at exactly the same level. Try to grasp in whatever is available around you and apply that to your strategy, and things will work fine. Okay, and no one person who's cleared the exam or topper has the right strategy. Let me tell you this: all of us have to devise our own strategy, keeping our strengths and weaknesses in mind, and make sure you take a lot of inspiration from Mahendra Singh Dhoni, and the way he hits a six under pressure. Make sure you guys also do really well this time. And you need more videos or anything else that you would need from our end, please let me know in the comments, and I'd be more than happy to make sure that I come up with more videos for you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much again for giving your precious time to me.